Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are diving into a really specific kind of investment tool, one that's built for a single, powerful purpose: generating income. If you've ever dreamed of having your portfolio pay your bills, well, you're going to want to stick around for this. So let's kick things off with the big question, right? You've put in the years, you've been saving diligently, and now you're starting to picture what's next. Maybe it's retiring early, maybe it's packing up and living as an expat somewhere amazing. But the million-dollar question is, how do you actually turn that nest egg into a steady paycheck you can count on every month? All right, before we go any further, we have to get the important legal stuff out of the way. Just remember, everything we're talking about here is for educational purposes. We're breaking down an idea. It is absolutely not financial advice. For any decisions about your own portfolio, you should talk to a qualified professional who really gets your specific situation. Okay? Great. So here's the plan for our explainer. First, we'll tackle the income problem head-on. Then, we'll introduce a tool designed specifically for cash flow. We'll look at the big reward, but also the major trade-off. And finally, we'll see how this fits into your bigger financial toolbox. Let's get into it. First things first, let's really nail down the problem we're trying to solve here. You see, for a lot of people who are getting close to financial freedom, the portfolio that got them there, well, it wasn't really built to pay the monthly bills. And here's the heart of the issue. You might have a portfolio that's full of great growth stocks, and on paper it looks fantastic, but the actual cash it generates, the dividends, that's often a different story. We're talking maybe 1.5%, 2% a year. I mean, that's just not going to be enough to cover your living expenses or fund that dream life abroad. You need cash flow, plain and simple. So, that brings us to a potential solution. It's an investment vehicle that's wired completely differently. Its goal isn't growth at all costs. Nope. Its goal is consistent, regular cash in your pocket. So what on earth is a covered call ETF? Well, think of it as a fund that just flips the usual script. It buys a bunch of stocks, just like any other fund, but then, and this is the key part, it generates income by selling what are called call options on those stocks. It's kind of like you're renting out the potential upside of your stocks to someone else for a regular fee. And that fee, that's the income. That's the paycheck we're talking about. The number one goal is income generation, and any growth in the stock price, well, that's a distant second. So you can see why this kind of strategy is a perfect fit for people with some very specific goals. Are you dreaming of retiring early? Are you an expat who needs reliable income sent from back home? Are you part of the FIRE movement? Financial independence, retire early? This tool was practically designed for you. Now for the fun part. Let's talk about the main attraction. Why would anyone even consider this? It really boils down to one thing: the potential for some seriously high-yield income. And this is the number that gets everyone's attention. These strategies are often designed to target an annual yield somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 12%. Now think about that. When you compare that to the 1 or 2% we talked about from regular stock dividends, you can instantly see the appeal for someone who wants to live off their investments. This quote really says it all, doesn't it? This is about making a very intentional choice. You're consciously saying, you know what? Predictable cash flow in my bank account today is way more important to me than the possibility of higher growth sometime way down the road. But, and this is a really big but, that juicy high yield comes with a major trade-off. And you absolutely have to understand this part, because, as we all know, there's no such thing as a free lunch in investing. This comparison lays it out perfectly. On the left, with regular investing, you're betting on the value of your stocks going up, up, up over time. That's the main goal. On the right, with covered call ETFs, you are actively, intentionally selling off some of that potential big gain in exchange for getting more income right now. So let's be crystal clear about a few things. When the stock market is on a tear and everything's going through the roof, you're probably going to miss out on some of those huge gains. And also, these are not bonds. They are not risk-free. If the market tanks, the underlying value of the fund, what they call the net asset value or NAV, it can definitely go down too, even while the fund tries to keep things stable. So, with all that said, how does a tool like this actually fit into your overall strategy? Well, let's talk about building a complete income toolbox, because this is definitely not about putting all of your eggs into one basket. Here are just a handful of examples of some covered call ETFs you can find in Canada and the US. Now, to be clear, these are not recommendations at all. They're just some real-world examples to give you a starting point for your own research and maybe have a more informed chat with your advisor. This right here is such a critical takeaway. A covered call ETF is not meant to be your entire portfolio, not even close. You have to think of it like a specialized wrench in a big toolbox. It does one job and it does it really well, but you still need all the other tools. A really solid, robust income portfolio is going to have multiple streams of cash coming in from different places. That can mean things like business development companies or BDCs. It could mean real estate investment trusts or REITs, or even just a solid base of high-quality dividend-paying stocks. They all work together to build that reliable paycheck. So we'll leave you with this final big question, because it's really the only one that matters, and only you can answer it. Knowing what you know now about the trade-off, how much of that future potential growth are you willing to give up in exchange for predictable, spendable income today? The right answer, well, it depends entirely on what your vision of financial freedom looks like.